In this video, we're going to look at the different types of questions that you're going to see on the Writing Task 1 essay. Let's get started. So essentially, there are four main types of questions that you're going to see. Let's see what those are. The first type is going to be a trends question. In this type of question, you're going to have data that is plotted over a period of time. So you may have a pie chart, a line graph, or a bar graph, or some other type of infographic. For this type of question, you just have to describe the changes that you're seeing over a period of time. The next type of question is a comparative question. In this type of question, you just have to compare data between two different graphs or two different charts or two different data sets. The next type of question you may see is a process question. In this type of question, you'll be given a diagram and you will have a process which is shown in a number of steps or stages. The last type of question that you can get is a map question, in which you're going to be given a before version and an after version of a map, and you just have to describe the differences or the changes that you see in the two maps. Alright, so those are the four main types of questions. Let us now take a deeper look into what each of these questions look like. Let's look at some examples. So we'll start off with trend graphs. So here's an example in which we have a line graph. As you can see, we have data that is plotted over a period of time. In this case, we have data that is plotted from the year 1980 to 2030. Another example is a bar graph. Again, we have data that is plotted over a period of time. In this case, we have data that is plotted over the years 1995 to 2002. Another example is a table. Here, again, you have changes that are happening over a period of time. In this case, we have data from the years 1999 and 2004. So again, we have changes that are plotted over a period of time. You can also get a pie chart. Again, notice that we have the years 2000 and the year 2050, and so we have changes that are expected to happen in this chart. So this is also a trend graph. Let us now look at a different type of graph, which are the comparative graphs. Let's see what they look like. So we have a bar graph here. Unlike the trend graph, in which we have data plotted over a period of time, in this case, we don't have data plotted over a period of time. Instead, we just have data from one single year, in this case, only the year 2010. So this is just a static snapshot of a data set. Okay, so we don't have changes being described over a period of time. Instead, what we have are different data sets for two different countries, for France and the UK. Let's look at another example. Here we have a table. Again, we only have a static snapshot of one single year. No changes are happening here over a period of time. So here we just have different data sets. We have data for different countries, and then we also have data for different products. All right. You can also have a pie chart for a comparative graph. Here you have to compare the data sets that you see between the two different pie charts. Here we have the household energy use, but we don't see any changes that are happening over a period of time. So that's how you know that this is a comparative graph. You have to compare the data. Let's look at one last example. Here we have a mixed charts example. So you may get questions where you get mixed charts. What that means is, on the one hand, you may get a pie chart, such as over here, and you have to compare that with a table, which is what we have over here. In other cases, you may get questions where you have to compare a table with a line graph or a bar chart with a pie chart. All right, so you can have any kind of combinations, but the important thing to note here is that you don't have changes that are plotted over a period of time. Instead, you just have two different data sets, and so you just have to compare the two different data sets and highlight the main features. So that concludes the different types of comparative graphs that you can see on your test. Let's now look at some examples of process questions. So when it comes to process questions, you're going to get a diagram. In some cases, that diagram may be numbered, such as over here, we have a numbered diagram where each of the stages or the steps of the process are numbered, and you're just required to describe the process that you see. On the other hand, you may have a process diagram where the diagram is unnumbered, so you don't have clearly laid out steps or stages, but still, if you look closer at the diagram, you can see that there are stages and steps that are visible. So it doesn't matter if the process diagram is numbered or not numbered. All you have to do is describe the process that you see and write a report on it. Let us now look at an example of a map question. So here we have a map question. In most map questions, what you're going to get is two different versions of the same map. Usually you're going to get a before version of a map and then an after version of a map. And what you have to do is compare the changes that have happened or the differences that you see between the two maps. So those are all the different types of questions that you can expect to see on the test. We'll cover more examples of this in much more detail in the upcoming videos. So that's it for this one. I'll see you in the next one where we talk about how you can get a high score on your writing task 1. See you there.